What are
Because fanaticism and ignorance
They defined you.
What is the nature of human action?
Ah, not you again. How does astrology poison the mind? Now, in the same way that I'm not going to do a video on goblins or alchemy or Aphrodite, I shouldn't really have to bother discussing such an unfounded, archaic idea as astrology. But this is A, obvious gobbledygook which people still widely believe in, and B, something which is actually quite poisonous to modern thinking. So what the f*** is astrology, and why am I so angry? Unlike astronomy, which is an actual real science monitoring cosmological happenings, astrology is an ancient 4,000-year-old idea which originated in Mesopotamia. The Babylonians decided that we were able to deduce traits about people depending on what time of year they were born, based on the position of the stars. Now, there are various thinkable objections here, some of which I'm going to go through now. Firstly, there are 7 billion people on the planet and only 12 parts to the zodiac. That suggests to me that there's going to be about 800 million people with the same destiny. 12 sets. There's something suspicious about that. Also, there's limitless examples of people who just don't resemble their star sign whatsoever. Whether it be the dull and boring Capricorn Michael Jackson, the cowardly Cancer Nelson Mandela, or the lovable, compassionate Osama bin Laden. A lot of astrologer apologists, it's a great phrase. Some astrologer apologists claim that your star sign is stamped into your head from the moment you're born, some claiming right down to the second. But when is birth? Is it when the waters break? Is it when egg pops out whole? Is it when you take your first breath? And by whose watch? Yours? The doctor's? Should the baby emerge from the womb with a wristwatch strapped to its arm? There's also an odd distinction between humans and animals, which means that animals are somehow exempt from astrological forces. Perhaps they don't have souls or whatever, or perhaps they don't have the right energy, or one of the other constantly misused scientific words. There's actually a moral objection here too. It escapes the mind of most that astrology holds some of the most outlandish, fantastical prejudices known to man. Oh, you're a Taurus? Get away from me, you self-indulgent swine. You're a Capricorn, unfaithful. We all know you can't dance very well because you're an Aries. To judge somebody's personality based on the way they were born is very similar to racism. Astrology uses more positive traits rather than negative traits, but the same stereotyping mechanisms are used. More to the point, who decided that each part of the zodiac had certain characteristics? Well, it came from the Roman gods, but then who decided the characteristics of those? Unless you openly believe in the gods of Apollo and Jupiter, you've just got to accept that it's just mankind making shit up again, as always.
These predictions are not predictions. They tell you what to do. They don't say what's going to happen. They're consciously designed to be so vague that it could apply to anybody, and they disagree with each other.
Astrological predictions are no better than chance. They're really not. There are no known forces on other planets that can affect us on Earth that don't contradict basic principles of physics. Don't feel disheartened though if you've been hornswoggled by this one before, because it's actually incredibly appealing to us for a very good reason. Most of us fall victim to the furore effect. This is when we're given statements which seem specific to us but actually appeal to anyone. Leo, outwardly you are an extrovert, but at times you're introverted. Sagittarius, you find comfort in a high quality meal. Taurus, you're a person that likes doing things sometimes. Okay, fine, that's a ridiculous example. But this effect was demonstrated by Bertrand Ferror in 1948. He gave his students a unique personality analysis, which they had to rate from 0 to 5 in terms of accuracy to their personality. But there was a twist! Each and every statement was exactly the same as one another. The ratings, though, that the students gave were on average a 4.26 out of 5. In other words, they predicted them as dead on to their personalities, even though they were supposed to be unique. The experiment has since been done many a time with similar results and demonstrates perfectly how astrology manipulates people. In all cases though, it requires an authority figure. Ferror, in his experiment for instance, or an astrologer with horoscopes, which is a tag that precisely means nothing. Well, what's the harm? I hear you ask, even though I'm technically talking to myself right now. Well, in some cases we actually have people making a living off of this deception, taking money in exchange for their gibberish, telling people things that they'll actually base major life decisions on. But admittedly, this isn't the case for most people. On a broad level though, astrology kind of promotes a way of thinking which means that people don't investigate their beliefs before basing their entire lives on them. And it's easy to do so because, let's face it, who has time to study every idea that they currently buy into? Can I be bothered to investigate gravity? Not really. But I will one day, and I can rely on that as a thing. But the more we promote this kind of thinking, the slower that we will progress as a species. A species which, by the way, still has a very long way to go. So, in conclusion, well, ignore astrology, that should be obvious enough. But mainly, investigate your beliefs a little further, even if they're mainstream or people you respect believe them too, because not everything is as it seems. Click subscribe so you can see me getting blind drunk and spouting gibberish at you with more immediacy. Follow me on Twitter too.